Steve, what are you doing? I smile, and then you start with your little introduction.
Yeah, I know how it works. I've been doing it for a long time. I don't have time right now.
I don't even know how to do it. Hey, Guildies, I'm Jesse, and this is Steve. Still Steve and Jesse. Hey, you're killing me. I don't know what to do. This is not how we do things.
Dude, you're bad at that.
Yeah. What are you doing?
I'm busy. I'm making a Nether Blaster.
What is a Nether Blaster?
Now you don't know what a Nether Blaster is.
I wouldn't have asked if I'd known what it was.
Well, do I have some information for you?
I like info.
Why don't we start by you watching this trailer for Max Reload and the Nether Blasters, and then watch this interview I did with the directors and the lead actor.
What? That's crazy.
I know, right?
Is it right there?
It is.
Let's check it out.
3, 2, 1. Let's cue that trailer.
Ooh, different.
You tell us what the hell is going on here.
Huh, you want an origin story? The year was 1984. And that's when he appeared. I call him the Harbinger now, because over time I've learned that he's the one who delivers the rules.
You're Eugene
Wilder. Yeah, the one and only. And you are Max, right?
I know it sounds nuts. I mean, I've been wanting to play this game since I could hold a controller.
I knew he'd be back. I just had no idea there were any game cartridges left. I knew it was only a matter of time before the Harbinger found his one player, the one man capable of truly unlocking.
My boy, chosen one.
Chosen pawn. Chosen pawn, and we're not even sure. Maybe.
Unless the store's on fire this weekend, I am not to be bothered when I'm jacked in.
What's the one thing the Nether Dungeon never had and won't be expected?
You are the prize we seek now, Max.
Power grows with each soul committed to the game.
Okay, well, if we're going in there against the Nether, then we're gonna need firepower.
Let's rock! Stop them! Step off, bros!
Hey, Nether dick.
Come on, all those people out there!
What would happen if the game went mobile?
Imagine hundreds, if not thousands, of Nether-possessed game junkies like your friend here, just running through the streets, running amok.
It's up to us to stop it.
This is like a movie.
Hey guys, and we're back, and we have something very special for you guys. We are here with the directors and star of the new movie Max Reload and the Nether Blasters. We have directors Scott Condit and Jeremy Tremp. They're in the top right corner there. And then at the bottom we have Mr. Tom Plumley, who plays Max in the movie. And I just want you guys to know I watched the movie last night and thought it was hilarious and really well done. So thanks guys for joining us.
Happy to be here. Excited to be here. Appreciate that.
This is awesome.
So we'll start with you, Scott. Where did the idea for Max Reload come from?
Oh, man. So Jeremy and I were driving back on a road trip from E3 out there in LA. And we were just talking, just chatting, gaming, and, geek stuff like we normally do. And good ideas tend to come out on road trips for us. Jeremy had just seen an article on the 2016 release of the game Doom. And the developers over at id Software, some of our favorites, right? Just that whole backstory. They had implanted this subliminal waveform in the music that if you ran it through a spectrogram waveform analyzer, it would display pentagrams and cryptic demonic runes. And Jeremy's like, dude, how crazy would it be if that Easter egg possessed people for real? And that was the impetus for Max Reload, man.
Yeah. That is not anything I would have expected. That is an awesome origin story for this movie.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's sick.
I'll see. The more you know.
That's just the impetus of the crux of the movie. But beyond that, we'd been kicking around many ideas that we had wanted to do, and we just wanted to make a movie that was something that we wanted to watch, something that was action adventure, had some comedy, some sci-fi. But just a Friday night popcorn flick you watch with your friends. That's really what we wanted to do.
It was our childhood, man.
Awesome. Mine as well. So that movie definitely hit home with me. So Jeremy, so one of my big gripes with movies that involve technology, computers, video games as a whole, a lot of times the writing almost seems like it's forced to appeal to as broad of an audience as possible, and a lot of times because of that, it becomes off as nonsensical to like what the core audience should feel. There's a lot of TVs and movies that fall into that issue. This movie feels very authentic for like gaming and nerd culture as a whole. So how difficult was it to get the tone and the feel of the movie right to appeal to that gaming audience?
Yeah, man, that's interesting. I'm very similar. I finish maybe 2 out of every 10 movies I watch today because of that reason. It's so terribly written, plot holes, or just you don't believe the world that they created or the characters that they've created.
Right.
And so I think this is a lot of the movie is Scott and I. It's our experiences.
How we talk.
There's no studio behind us that said, hey, gaming is popular. Make a movie about gaming and it'll make money. Like it was just, we always, the passion is always to make your first feature film, right? And so we wanted to make a feature film about something that we were actually passionate about. I have been gaming since I could hold a controller. I remember the very first time we got a Nintendo. I remember everything. I played World of Warcraft. I still play Overwatch just about every single night. Like
awesome.
We are the people that we made the movie for. We are huge geeks of, we're both born in the 80s, obviously, so we didn't like grow up as teenagers in the 80s, but
same here. I was born in 82.
Yeah, so it's like, it's I feel like the 80s and 90s were like a golden age for entertainment. Movies looked like they were made by people. Nowadays, movies are perfectly clean, perfectly clear, and that's cool. That's really cool. But there was something about watching The Last Starfighter, The Goonies, Star Wars, all these,
raw.
And it was made by people. There were costumes, there were practical effects.
Sure.
And we wanted to kind of make a movie that was like that, and as far as the dialogue goes and whatnot, it's tough to make a niche movie.
As a consideration, right? Too, like the deep cut aspect of it. It's a great question. We asked ourselves during the script writing process, how deep do we want to go? And to your point, like with the broader audience, when you're making a film, of course, you're accountable to the audience, your own artistic inclinations, and also your investors and the people at stake in the movie. So you don't want to make something so deep that, well, it might appeal to a sub niche of a sub niche of a sub niche.
Right.
When we went into this, though, it was like, man, don't underestimate this audience out there too, though. A lot of Hollywood movies, to your point, these producers dumb it down and water it down so much that it has that very vanilla, this would be good for everyone. It's palatable. Everyone can eat this thing. Ours, we're like, no, man, the kids out there, the dudes like us out there, it's how they talk.
Yep.
They're not dumb.
Right.
Let's write this for that audience.
And, there's also a reason why it spans Colecovision, mobile gaming, esports, MMO kind of gaming. And one of the cool feedback that we've gotten is people say, I didn't really understand anything about gaming and I still loved your movie. Or I learned so much about gaming. Or, so I think apparently we did a pretty good job of broadening that audience while still, I think, giving everyone what they wanted.
And a fun ride. Yeah.
Well, I agree. You definitely did a good job when it comes to that. So props to you on that. One of my favorite video game consoles growing up was the ColecoVision. I have very fond memories of playing that with my older brother in his bedroom. So why is Nether Dungeon a ColecoVision game as opposed to something a bit more recognizable like maybe an Atari 5200?
Have you ever made a movie?
I have not. I would like to, but I have not.
That's a real answer. Yeah, it's licensing. Is a big part of it. When Ridley Scott, who's Ridley Scott, puts Atari in Blade Runner, that didn't come cheap.
Right.
And on the other end of it, we also wanted something we grew up with too. And I played ColecoVision at my buddy Jesse's house all the time. And we had a friend from the game development documentary we had done who knew the current owner of the IP of Coleco. And we're like, no way.
That was like a no-brainer.
Dude, he said, he's a cool dude. Why don't you guys just get on a phone call? So we did. We told him about what we were trying to do and what the dream and vision of Max Reload was and why Coleco would be such a great fit versus making up some generic console.
Yeah, and the film is a lot of underdogs, right? And so we wanted to kind of have an underdog system.
Yeah.
Also, Coleco was only around for a couple years.
Right.
And so it made sense that they made this groundbreaking thing, and then it just kind of fell apart. You know, if it was Atari, Atari has this huge track record, a lot of, you know, lore on it. Colecovision was still kind of, there's not a lot there. So I think it helped that mystique of...
Nether Dungeon got lost in the console wars.
Right.
Sure.
And
That's awesome. That's really cool.
I feel like also I had no idea what a ColecoVision was before I read the script, and I was like, it's a phone but a game? I'm confused.
Well, the controllers look like a phone, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, they did, and I was doing research when I was reading the script, and I was like, this is crazy, I've never heard of this thing before, and I was watching like gameplay and stuff of it, and it just kind of like blew my mind, because I was born in the early 90s, and so I grew up in like the SNES generation and stuff like that with my brothers, and PlayStation 1 and all that good stuff. So throwing it back further back in time, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I think people that are kind of like of my age group also look at that and they're like, that's a thing? Like, that is so cool. So it's almost like an educational experience too.
Well, that's awesome. So for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, Tom plays the character of Max Jenkins, who essentially is a gamer tasked with saving the world. So the character looked like an absolute blast to play. The question was going to be, are you a gamer in real life? But you kind of just answered that. So could you extrapolate on that a little bit? And what was it like taking on this role? And does the character himself have any similarities to you as a person?
Yeah, great question. I love answering that question because it was like, I think it was a piece of cake, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying that from like an ego place. I'm saying that from like a place of, I think the role found me. Like, that's what it feels like. Kind of like how the Nether Dungeon game finds Max and like finds its way to Max. It's just one of those like beautiful things of like, you show up in this casting room, you do an audition, and then Greg there, he was also auditioning people, and he was like, oh my gosh, you're great. You're fantastic. And like, we just started chatting, and then I remember having a Zoom Skype meeting with Scott, and I was like showing him, I was like, this is my Nintendo, this is my PlayStation, I got my Switch over here. And we were just, having a great time talking to him about nostalgia and video games. And, it was crazy reading the script because Max has lines that I say in real life. And so it was just one of those like serendipitous moments where I'm like, I'm the guy, like, this is amazing. I really, really hope I get this. And it was so much fun. It was like, it was like experience of a lifetime.
Yeah,
sure.
That goes back to the authenticity thing I said earlier. The dialogue felt natural because things that were said are things that I say on an almost daily basis. So yeah. With
Scott and Jeremy, they wrote it together, and it's so cool that you guys kept it, like you were saying, raw and real. And it's one of those just fantastic films that you pop on and you have a great time watching, and you can relate to everybody.
So since the character was so similar to you as a person, what would you say was the biggest challenge for playing the role of Max?
Ooh, that's tough, dude. I was so happy all the time. It's so tough.
Well, that's an acceptable answer, and having no challenges is probably a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was a month of nights, but I didn't care. I'm trying to think the most challenging part is, I think what it was is, this is my first feature film, and I was the star of it. I was like the number one on the call sheet, and I think there's a lot of responsibility with that.
Sure.
And I wanted to hold that responsibility to the highest standard that I could. And really, I think what I've learned from living in LA for 7 years is that when I'm on set, whoever's number one really sets the tone for how the day is going to go. If the lead actor is just kind of being a brat and they're just having a hard time and they're complaining about these little things, it just rubs off on everyone else. And it's just kind of unhealthy because when you're in the trenches, and you have a bad start, it can just go downhill from there. So it's really important to keep that positive attitude and the morale high. And I just remember feeling that responsibility on my shoulders and just wanting to make sure everyone was, having a good time and remembering how fun and awesome this experience was. Because as an actor, it's like feast or famine, So I was just so ready to be feasting. I was hungry all day. So it was great.
That's awesome. So let's switch focus here to some of the props from the movie. So the modified Power Glove and the Super Scope 6 at the end, which, by the way, I think would be fantastic weapons for a zombie apocalypse, or I guess in this case, a nether infected apocalypse.
Yes.
What could you tell me about the props? Where did the ideas for some of those things come from? Where did you dig into that well of the vast dearth there to find that kind of stuff?
Yeah, man. There was something, there's making something interesting and unique. It's like, okay, the nether comes out, you have to physically fight the nether. What does that look like?
Right.
And so we had this idea of using these, old analog, essentially relics of the past you could buy at video game stores, and that they modified them to shoot, what Eugene calls pure, unadulterated, ultra white, violet, whatever. It makes no sense. Like it's a complete oxymoron. But we went to, I think, Fallout Games, which is an actual real store, and we just kind of browsed through all their old things. You have any of them?
Dude, I'm trying to find them. They're around here somewhere.
That's funny. And so we picked out a whole bunch of them, and then we took them to a buddy of ours who does prop fabrication. He mostly makes like really high-end lightsabers.
Nice.
And so when you pull the trigger, there's batteries in them, and they actually fire LEDs out the front.
Oh, that's
which
so
helps
cool.
Our VFX people, know where the blast comes from and the color. And so we just wanted that kind of special moment where Eugene hands Max the blaster, and in the end we can have these cool VFX of people getting blasted, and that way no one's actually dying or getting hurt, right? It's kind of like an exorcism via technology. And so that was that was kind of the.
Oh, there it is! Oh, that's so awesome.
Wow.
It's beautiful. They're legit, man. They're really cool.
They're always cool, man. Someone always steals them and takes them into their editing bay here. Like me, it was in my office.
That is so. They're beautiful.
All right. Yeah. So let's talk about Kevin Smith. So Kevin Smith is obviously hilarious. He has a vast body of work. So when I saw on IMDb that he was in the film, I assumed that it was like a small cameo. But he actually had a decent-sized part, and he had a lot of dialogue. So how did that come about?
Dude, very tactfully.
Very creatively.
Man, we grew up, adoring Kevin Smith as indie
did
filmmakers ourselves. And it was, what a long shot. What a Hail Mary that whole thing was. We pitched Kevin via a video message that Jeremy and I sat down, and we literally just kind of said, hey, man, like the way you adore Stan Lee, we look up to you in that same way. You've influenced us in all these ways. You were one of the first indie films I ever rented from, the little video update rental store. We cut clips from Mallrats and Clerks into our video love letter to him. So,
appealing to his independence.
And dude, we heard back within 30 minutes of him receiving that video, and he said, "Tell the boys I'm in." Yeah. So working with him, dude, was a dream come true.
Yeah, and talking about creativity, we only had him for about 6 hours in LA.
Yeah.
So Chuck's office is we shot in LA. We went there. Everything else was shot in Phoenix. And we've both been filmmakers for over 12 years now, and done tons of productions. And so understanding how to get things what you need and quickly was absolutely key. And so in that tiny amount of time, we were able to stretch him throughout the majority of the film.
Which was a goal when we wrote it too, knowing that with a guy like Kevin,
you want to respect their time and
respect them and how busy he is. But like, how can we sprinkle him, his character Chuck, throughout the whole film, and not make it feel like one of the not to disparage any other films, but some films have someone on their poster
for 10 minutes,
and if you see it for 5 seconds, you're like, oh, that was it.
Yeah. No, we should disparage them. Bad films. Bad.
Well, I mean, you guys managed to get quite a few well-known actors in the film. I mean, you have Greg Grunberg. He does a lot of stuff with Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams from Lost and the Star Wars sequels. So that was pretty cool. I assume he was probably pretty cool to work with as well.
Yeah. Amazing. We had done a table read with him for another project that we were in development with, and that's kind of how we met him out in L.A. And so when the time came for this, we're thinking of all the amazing people we've met and kind of cashing as many chips as we can, right? And so when we called him up, sent him the script, and he loved it. He was in love with the idea.
And we didn't even know that Greg was such a gamer himself. Yep. Like his studio is amazing. we shot the Kevin Smith scene in the back lot of his studio.
Yep.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's a lot like yours, man. Like
He's
just
got arcade cabinets
arcades, like,
everywhere.
Yeah, we have a lot down here.
We got a show with Kevin called Geeking Out about nerd culture and games, and so
Oh, cool.
Greg already knew Kevin. They had a great relationship, and then Greg was like, "Hey, how can I help?" So he hopped on as producer as well and brought some of his friends, like Lynn Shay. We had Marty Cove and Jesse Cove, for a couple years at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So we brought them on board.
Joseph Reitman, I mean, amazing from Happy, and dude, I remember watching him back on Married with Children way back in the day. But it helps having a dude like Greg as a buddy who's just a good dude. He's just, like Tom can attest to this. He's just an average dude you'd hang out and have a beer with and play some games with.
Right.
But he got it, and he made those phone calls too on our behalf.
That's awesome, man. So, Tom, I imagine with all of these hilarious people in the cast, I'm assuming the set was just pretty much a blast to be with, or to be on, I should say. So I'm assuming it was the answer to this question was it fun to film. I'm assuming the answer is yes. But what was your favorite scene to film in the movie?
Oh, crap. All of them? No, I think the finale was really cool. The finale,
it definitely was.
Because it was just so ridiculous, like wearing, this long hair and looking like Conan the Barbarian and being suited up. And it was also the vibes because everyone knew it was the last day of filming. And so by that time, I mean, I think the best part about doing a movie is it's like summer camp. It's like going to summer camp. And you build these bonds with people that sometimes you'll never see them again. You're just like, hey, cheers, hope this turns out to be as amazing as we all think it is. And I think it has. And yeah, I would say the last day was just my favorite sequence to shoot. My dream as an actor is to do action comedy. And this is like the movie for that. Right. And so being able to flip around and throw a sword, it was just badass. I felt so alive. It was great.
Tom was into it that day, man. Like you looked happy, like kids in
such
candy
a good
store.
day.
It was a good day.
It was such a good day, dude. It was awesome. And then we had champagne at the end, so come on, party time.
So going off of something you just said about like your dream as far as from acting. So for better or for worse, on this channel, unfortunately, I find myself dressing up in red spandex a lot to act out the Red Power Ranger. I guess you could say it's my dream role. So if you could pick your one dream role, what would it be? And for what it's worth, my wife thinks that you would make an amazing Peter Parker.
Wow, really?
Big compliment from her. I know she enjoyed the movie a lot. She's a gamer as well.
Dang, I gotta work on my flexibility.
Yeah,
first
get some backflips.
You'll be good. Exactly. Oh yes, there we go. I think like Indiana Jones. Or if you've played Uncharted from,
Nathan Drake,
Uncharted, like Nathan Drake. That was my dream role as Nathan Drake. And then, Tom Holland got it, which I completely understand. But hey, he's in Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he's Spider-Man, so there you go.
There you
so
go.
Watch out, Tom Holland.
There you go. Hell yeah.
You're going for him. Right, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love like big Spielberg action and movies. They don't do action in that same way where like as soon as something happens right for the character, like the parachute works. Oh, parachute's on fire. And it's just this constant, like, what's going to happen next? As soon as they get close to the crystal, the whole world starts falling apart. I love that stuff. So anything where the stakes just ever ramp higher, my bread and butter. I'm so down.
Okay, so to mention my wife again, one of her favorite characters in the movie was the character of Mrs. Wilder. She was hilarious. Her deadpan comedy, like, no offense, Tom, but her deadpan comedy like was a total scene stealer.
Oh, 100%.
So was that character actually written that way, or did the actress Lynn Shay did she give the character a life of her own when it came to that?
Oh, dude, a little of both for sure. And like with an actress like Lynn, here's the thing, man. This is from us writing the script. Mrs. Wilder was a fun, not a small. There's no small parts, right? You hear that all the time. With an actress like Lynn, who's been in these amazing films, like Something About Mary and Kingpin, she can take any role, whether it's a sentence or no dialogue at all, and make it shine, like you said. She came in, dude, with more questions than I think we had answers for initially.
Yeah.
And she's a powerhouse. She's become a good friend, and watching her, we learned a lot from Lynn.
We did.
Watching her come in from the kind of films that she's been on, with those questions and kind of forcing us into the creative headspace of like, damn, that's a good question. Would Mrs. Wilder carry around a little doll named Mr. Schnoobs?
Yeah,
What color
she
is
brought a
her?
lot of depth to the role. It was so much fun to explore that role with her, you know, on the day, and it just turned out, man, that it was just gold. It was absolute gold. It was so much fun to edit that scene too.
I bet.
And
I bet.
All the comedic beats and you know, she did it a ton of different ways every take, and so there was a lot to work with.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
Awesome. So, here's my hard-hitting journalism question. So, making an indie film like this on a small budget, I'm assuming probably forces you guys to think out of the box a lot. You know, the movie has a ton of moving parts. There's a lot of visual effects. The CGI is impressive. So how creative did you guys have to get to realize the vision for this project?
As creative as humanly possible.
Yeah, straight dope, man. There's a reason this film took 2.5 years to finish.
Yeah.
And the only way it could get done on the budget that we had was to pull in as many favors as we were owed or owed people, to draw on every skill set we've amassed, to ask a ton of our amazing cast members like Tom, who brought that light to that set on those long nights. And dude, it's a fucking miracle it all came together, to be honest.
There's a reason I was shooting it and co-directing, you know, that we wrote it, that we edited it. I mean, you know, we produced it, wearing as many hats as humanly possible, bringing the best people that we could find.
You're talking about a film with, like you said, ridiculous CGI. There's 550 CGI shots that we could not have done without the grace of Foxtrot X-Ray, our VFX house, and our buddy Paul. We had, 4 kinds of animation in there?
Yep.
And you had some amazing cast members. And you look at the film on the page, if you broke it down like that, there's no way it should have been done for what it was done for.
Not at all.
When I did the screening, and I told my friends, I was like, hey guys, like if you want to talk about the film, like give me a call. And my buddy Harrison, you guys talked to him a little bit. He was like, this looks like a $4 million, like a multi-million-dollar movie. The fact that it was done for what it was done for is actually insane. And I was like, I know, it's crazy. Like I wouldn't be alive if I was Scott and Jeremy. I would have just ran away. I would have gone to Mexico.
There were many moments where we were just like, I wonder if I just died in my sleep and Scott could just take the rest of it.
Thinking the same, dude. We would see each other on set those mornings with a cup of coffee and just be like, another day in the trenches, man.
We're shooting all overnight, and it was about 30 degrees or lower in Arizona on the nights.
Coldest winter on record in 100 years.
It is it's very challenging when you're cold and you're tired and you're hungry and you're stressed.
And you know, it's a double-edged sword too, man, because like we had our concerns about, we always wanted to make this movie. You always said this a lot, like we should make the movie we want to see, and it should look as cool as we would expect any other movie we paid to go see at a theater or, you know, through Vudu or any of the subscription services. Let's not skimp. And I think we had a cool thing going for us with Max, because it rides the bleeding edge between fantasy and reality and absurdity and retro. And so we have some wiggle room with the campiness of certain, you know, things and effects. But I mean, it's weird blend.
Yeah, I think like the overarching thing that I've heard is like the movie's entertainment value is so high. Like if you want to forget about everything that's happening in 2020, California's on fire, the world is falling apart, blah, blah, blah. It's like turn on Max Reload, because it's just, it's escapist, you know, and those are the movies that I think people are seeking out right now, is escape from this reality. Anytime I watch something that's like a social commentary on what's happening now, I just go away. I'm like, I don't need this. I already get it 24/7, you know?
The movie's not trying to be anything, tell anyone to do anything. There's no underlying concepts of race or sex or blah, blah, blah. It is just a damn movie that is made to entertain people.
Like
that is it.
You grew up with,
That's
man.
it, man. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so here comes the lightning round. Ready? So what are the odds of a Max Reload 2? I feel like the movie is going to have some sort of a cult following, me specifically, because of how much I enjoyed it. And for the record, I'm down to play another infected extra in Max Reload 2. Just FYI.
Man, you know, a lot of that, you know, it really comes down to how well this movie does, right?
Right.
I mean, doing a movie takes everything you have. everything your family has.
I'm
It
sure.
is a massive undertaking, and so
Doing it like we did it.
yeah, so it's like it's got to be there's so many cool ideas for Max Reloaded is kind of what we were kicking
Oh,
around.
nice name. Yeah.
Another one.
Right.
Another one? Yes, that's awesome. Oh man.
Yeah, there's
Like you said, it's up to the court, man. We're in the Roman Coliseum. Give the thumbs up or thumbs down.
right. If people demand it, who are we to say no?
That's it.
Okay, so what other projects do you guys have coming up? Anything interesting that our viewers would be interested in hearing about?
Tom,
what do you got?
Me first? Oh man. I did a commercial earlier this year, and that's going to be coming out early next year, and it's an homage to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And so they actually recreated the entire Ferris Bueller garage set, and redid the entire scene where the door rolls up, and Alan Ruck, the guy who plays Cameron in Ferris Bueller, is playing my dad in the commercial. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
super excited about that. It was sick. They got all these 80s anamorphic lenses, and so it looks like the way it's filmed just looks precisely like Ferris Bueller, and it's pretty sick. So I'm stoked about that. I'm stoked about any future projects coming my way. The industry right now is only operating at about 15%, so things are slow, but we're creeping back to life.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. That sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So we are a video game focused channel. We talk about video games probably 90% of the time. So this is for everybody. Your favorite video games and your favorite video game genres to play.
Ooh. All right, Scott and Jeremy, you guys go.
And I've got two little babies at home, so I'm FPS right now all the way. I mostly play Overwatch just because it's a little bit. It's like you can really get into it, but you're not. Call of Duty, you're cracked out the whole time.
Right.
To be good. Overwatch is a little bit more of a methodical. You got to think about what you're doing.
Right.
So me and my wife play that a fair amount. But if I had the time, man, RPGs or MMOs, where you can really dive in. You can build a character. You're experiencing a whole new world. That's probably my main jam. But
Heck yeah, man. Grew up playing Doom. I love that entire franchise and what it's become today. So first-person shooters for me as well. But dude, if I had to say one of my favorite types of games is side-scrollers, man, like Metroid and Castlevania or the Metroidvania genre. Just has a special place in my heart. And still love going back and playing those today.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really love narrative games. So stuff made by Naughty Dog, I really like Uncharted. I like The Last of Us, like Last of Us 2, because you're in, you're out, there's a chapter, there's plot. And I find like the open world games, I get a little too distracted and I can get kind of lost in the weeds. So it's nice to just know where I'm going sometimes and have my hand held because I appreciate the storytelling experience. I think as an actor, I watch the performance. I'm like, oh yeah, like I can see what they're thinking. Like that's so cool,
Sure.
Besides that, a sandbox game like GTA or Just Cause where you can just go mess around and blow stuff up.
So based on your answers, Tom, I think I know your answer to the next question, but I got to ask it. Your platform of choice, be it Nintendo Switch or Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, or PC Master Race. Tom, I'm gonna guess your answer is Sony.
Yeah, I think 100%. Because it's a home entertainment system as well. Like if I didn't live with my fiance, I'd probably go PC. But it's like it's everything, so it's easy, Yeah.
And what about you guys?
Good guess.
Thank you.
Yeah, it changes. I used to be I loved console because I'm editing on the PC all the time. I like to get away from the PC and sit on the couch with a controller. But now it's not feasible to do that. So I'm PC definitely. I've always been building my own and
awesome.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, you can just pretend like you're working to avoid your kids. Be like, I'm on the computer. I'm working here.
Busy. Yeah, man. Pretty much the same for me. It's a hopping between PC and console, but primarily console lately.
Cool. All right, so last question, and this one's for Tom. So, for whatever reason, we actually have a decent amount of aspiring actors who watch our channel. We actually recently interviewed someone who was a featured background actor in the new Jumanji movie.
Great!
And that kind of came about because he watches our channel. So for anyone else out there who is big into acting or wants to get into acting, do you have any advice for them getting started in the industry?
Yeah, I do. Make stuff. Learn what it's like to be behind the camera. Learn what it's like to edit. Learn what it's like to light, because that'll all make you a better actor, and it will make you a better person on set. I think set etiquette is such an important quality. And if someone says to me like, "Hey, your performance was amazing," I'll be like, "Wow, that means a lot." But if they're like, "When you're on set, like you're a pro, you know how to reset your props and stuff," like to me, that's actually a higher compliment, because on set, a lot of the crew members tend to look down on actors or baby them because they're coming from such a different world.
Sure.
So I would say don't stop making stuff, because also people will recognize the things that you make. I remember I was making a YouTube sketch once a week, and I couldn't tell you how many people were hitting me up to collaborate and work, because you're putting yourself out there and the world is seeing that. And they're like, oh, they're legitimate because they really, really care. And also thoughts are everything. Think about what your character's thinking, not what they're saying. You know, that's why when you watch Game of Thrones and they talk about dragons and stuff, you can relate, even though it's a completely foreign concept, because you're understanding the feeling under that is they want revenge,
Right.
and everyone can relate to that feeling. So that's where the magic happens.
Cool. So almost like become the character more so than learn the lines well, because if you believe it, then the audience will believe it.
I used to be a pretty bad actor, like legit, because I would read the script and I would direct myself in the role. I would say, you know, do this, do that, look sad. And so I was directing myself. But the trick is to think like a writer and think, why is this person saying this? Okay, if this person says, "I hate you," and you respond with closing the door, it's like, okay, there's a million ways to respond to "I hate you." So like you have to ask why. Ask like, what is this person thinking? What's going through their head? Like, how are they hearing "I hate you" or "I love you"? Like, how is that landing on them?
Right.
Those types of questions are going to take you so much further as an actor, instead of do this, look happy, walk out now. It's just their empty intentions. There needs to be a real reason behind. I mean, right now the reason I'm talking is to explain that I have an intention, you know?
Right.
So things like that. It gets very detailed, but that's where the fun happens.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I mean, that about does it for all my questions. For anybody interested in checking out Max Reload and the Nether Blasters, it's available now to rent on Amazon Prime, YouTube. I just saw on Facebook that it's coming to Redbox. Did I miss anything?
Voodoo.
Voodoo. Okay.
iTunes.
Stream it, yeah.
So it's available on all of your favorite platforms.
Yeah.
So the movie is an absolute must-watch for anybody who loves gaming. You guys should totally follow Tom on Instagram. It's at Tom Plumley, correct?
Very simple. Yep. At Tom Plumley.
He's great in the movie, and I see big things for him down the road. So a huge thank you to Scott, Jeremy, and Tom. Thank you guys so much for your time. It is extremely appreciative. And for the Adventurers Guild, I'm Steve, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it, man.
Take care, guys.